welcome to the Beyond the Checkout Business Insights for e-commerce business. On today we have the guys from Goodsize and Goodchart. So let's start and have a conversation. So let's start. Who are you? Who is Goodsize, and how did it come about?
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
You want to jump in, or do you want me to jump in?
yeah, you go, man.
Yeah, so I'm Cedric, and then I'm one of the co-founder of Goodsize, which is the parent company, and then we build one specific product, which is called Goodchart. So essentially, the way we kind of came across this is my background is in fashion, so I used to work as a designer. So therefore, I had to face a lot of issue with sizing, but also have a lot of friends who run the various fashion brand and fashion label. So I could see they were having issue with sizing, but on the other end, it was more on the financial side. So therefore, thought about how we can make something work and how we can actually try to solve that issue, and we came out with Goodsize. And from there, I kind of spoke with my mate Nick, and then yeah, he jumped on board, and then we created a company, and then we started distributing the product.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
oh, sorry. Yeah. Just to introduce myself. I'm Nick, the second co-founder at Goodsize. We have a third one, Dewey, but he couldn't be here today. He's our head of development and IT. And I joined Cedric into the venture because I thought it was an interesting sort of problem to resolve. And myself, I had the same hurdle while shopping online, and especially these days, and just after COVID, I'd struggle finding my size. And so I thought, well, that's a good sort of like problem to resolve. Interested in getting a product out there, and so we started the business together about 2 years and a half ago. And as Cedric was explaining, we started with one product, which led to develop a second product. So we started with Goodsize, which is more AI size recommender, and then through like interviewing a lot of like brands and connecting with more than 300 brands here in Australia in a physical way, so going and meeting them, we came across the problematic of size charts being sort of very old school and Excel looking. And so we started developing that on the backbone of our first project. So one is an AI size recommender, Goodsize, and the other one called Goodchart is actually more of a size chart, but a very visual one.
Yeah, okay. So tell us a bit more about the Goodsize and this new Goodchart, and what does the app actually do for fashion stores?
Do you want to jump,
Um,
Cedric?
yeah, sure thing. I'll jump on it. It's a good question. The way it kind of works, I'll say one of the key benefits of this product, the product we're creating, is to help fashion stores to actually deal with inventory, and then actually help them with saving money, making sure that they can keep the margin and they can keep the profits. So the way we're doing it through sizes. Other people are doing it through different avenue and different ventures. So through sizes, the way it is like what we realize, you as a customer, if you're having a sizing issue, then you have to send this product back, and often the brand will offer you a free shipping, but that free shipping has a cost, and that cost is eating through the margin. So if we can reduce that and make sure then when you actually come and buy the product, it's the right product, it's the right fit, it's actually something you're into, then it's like it's a win-win for both parties. So that was really I would say the true moment and the true realization of it. So we came out with Goodsize first, which is the AI size recommendation. That was a little bit more like, okay, how can we make sure then a product, or say a garment, that's what we call it, which is a piece of clothes, can be true to size for the person who's actually buying it. And then through that, through a lot of meetings and through a lot of conversation with various merchants, and roll out, okay, well, that's one solution, but we also have the ability and we also have an opportunity to create another product, which is a size chart. And the way it was is until now, a size chart was a bit of an untapped market. And we were like, well, we can not only make a visual, but we can also create a product and make it in a way where it becomes a conversion tool. And that's what we created Goodchart.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And so
To jump.
oh,
Yeah. Sorry.
it's all right. Did you want to carry on? Do you want more to say about that one?
Yeah, I was just going to jump on the back of what Cedric was saying with the conversion, because it's all technical words that we use a lot and we're used to
Yeah.
it. I guess for the audience and whoever's listening out there, it sounds like an exciting word, and it is. And the whole idea is, okay, guys, how do you convert, right? And really, the idea behind it is to say, well, what's a size guide? A size guide was invented probably in the 90s, when internet, sort of late 90s, 2000, when the internet came upon, and then people start buying online. And a lot of stores figured out, well, when you come in a store, it's easy, right? You try the garment, there's someone there that looks at you. It's probably like, all right, you're going to be an M, or L, or an XL, whatever your size is. And they help you and they guide you through it. And so in the 2000, they thought, all right, how can we put a few number of measurements on an Excel and just drop it? And you got to think internet 2000s, that was what you could do. But it stayed that way. We're in 2026, and most websites still have an Excel. Nothing wrong with it, but it's not very. First of all, it's not very explanatory, because if you don't know what a waistline, a hem seam, or different words are, you have no idea. You got to Google it, this, that. So it takes time. Um, so that's where we jumped in with Cedric, and we thought, all right, with his technical sort of design background, and we're like, how can we visually make it appealing for the consumer to see what it is, what is what, and how does it reflect? We still have, your classic cell looking size guide just there, like, because we're not going to revolutionize the industry from today to tomorrow, from one day to the other, sorry. So we still have it there, but we're sort of pushing people to have that more visual sort of like way to present sizing. So what does that look like? It's like a t-shirt, and you've got the measurements, and it explains what the different type of measurements are. We've got, really in-depth information. We've added our AI size recommender to it as well. We added, a few tools like a add to cart button while you're on your size chart. So you don't have to go back and forth. You're like, all right, that's the right size. Boom, add to cart. We added the buy now. So while you're certain of buying and you found the right size, you can click buy now, and then brings you to checkout. So that's what we're talking about with conversion, is that we've added all this knowledge that Cedric had, plus, all the interviews we had with about 300 brands, to see like, hey, what's the problematic? How can we help users? Because users are the ones that are the buyers, right? And then on the other hand, like, hey, brands, we think like if you do this and this with our size chart, this is going to help and have an impact. And so it's really increasing our conversion rate in that method, basically. So that's where, the conversion word comes to
Correct.
truth in reality, let's say.
Yeah, fair enough. That sounds interesting. So you're selling to fashion brands every day, so you hear the problems, their problems, unfiltered.
Mhm.
So we'd like to tap a bit more into that today, and say what
Yeah.
they need and what they actually buy and where they're stuck. So when a fashion brand comes to you, what's the problem they think they're solving, and what's the real issue underneath?
I think there's two problems, right? A fashion brand will come in and then they'll be like, oh, well, because the first thing they'll come to see a product because of I'll say the size recommendation or the sizing issue we're trying to solve. But the real problem, it's not really the sizing issue. The real problem is more inventory and is more margin, because that's what it is for fashion brand. Is like, well, I've got all this stock and I need to make sure this stock is moving somehow, and then it's actually going out of the door. And if you, as a customer, you're returning my product, that doesn't work for me because I've got my money stuck in shop. So this is where we're solving that issue. We're like, it's almost like we're in two different battlefields. One is for the user because we care about the user and we care about sizing, and we care about the idea of like you making sure that your first touch point when you're coming to a brand, it's a positive one. But we also care about the brand, and the brand is like the money part of it. We want to make sure then you can actually have a successful business, and you can have a successful business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that would help a lot actually, especially in, yeah, like you say, the conversion rate at the end. Like I would see a lot of people would drop off just because they have no idea whether they've got the right size or whether they, whether they haven't. And I've probably had that issue myself, and I'm sure a lot of other of our listeners have had this issue. So solving that would be, a great conversion tool.
Yeah,
Correct.
pretty much.
Yes.
Hmm. So
Yeah, we
what what finally makes a brand with you guys? So what finally makes a brand say yes and pull out the credit card, or what's the trigger that gets them to use your app over others, or none at all?
So if I can answer, we started being nobody, pretty much. So when we launched the second app called Good Chart, the size guide, size chart app, we were at the very bottom of the list. What we did though is we listened to brands. We went, as I was saying before, we went to interview about 300 different brands. We went to knock at the door basically, and a bit same
Literally at the
as you
store,
did.
knocking at the door.
Yeah. A bit like what you did, Michael, is like you came, you approached us, we didn't know who you were, you didn't know who we were, and we had a chat and it connected, and now we're like we're recording a podcast. So that was what we did, and I think that's a massive difference. Because a lot of these apps are developed by developers. Nothing wrong. We've also got a team of developers behind it, but it's critical to go and meet the brands and understand what the problematic is from their point of view, because we knew what it was. We've got a few mates that are in the fashion world and run labels that are quite successful, and we sort of hear the problematics, but we wanted to have more of a larger scope. And that approach helped us basically, you know, say, okay, what is actually happening in the fashion world? It's not about sizing only, it's not about conversion. It's also about little margins, especially in this day and age. There's plenty of brands across the world. There's a lot of competition coming from overseas as well. There's a lot of fast fashion as well. So the price of garments, lowering as well. So all of that means that it's harder to do, for a brand to be successful in this day and age. And if we can be a vehicle to help them in one way or another, to find that fine tuning, we're helping them fine tune. So it's size. It started with size, but pretty much what we're doing now is we're offering a whole panel of things
Correct.
through our app to try and help them. Resolve the sizing issue, resolve the stock issue, resolve the conversion issue, resolve a few things together, put into one app. To sort of help you, like, yeah, make a bit more profit, and make it worth it to run a label, because it's actually people think, oh, if you have a label you make a lot of money, but it's a difficult industry to be in.
Yeah, there's always a lot more to it than that, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
Yeah, sorry.
No, no, you're all right.
I was saying, to answer your question, what makes us different is, I guess, the way we've put together the app. And going back to what I was saying, we started from nothing and we were at the very back of the App Store list. And then, one day we ended up on the first page when searching for size guides and size charts. And then we ended up, today on the top 10. I think we're at top 6. So we come a long way, especially because a few of the apps were there for a long time and we're sort of the newcomers. So I think it shows that, we're doing something the right way. And most importantly, one of the big things we try and do a lot with Cedric is, we try and listen to brands. We try and like be all ears and say, hey, what is it? And we have a policy that if we get something asked 3 to 5 times by different brands, we've got about a 2 to 1 month implementation
Turn
sort of
around,
like
yeah.
turn around. So if a brand's like, hey, we want this, another brand asks the same product, and then we hear it 3 to 5 times, we're like, all right, this is valid, this is solid. We don't wait to hear it 100 times. We're like super reactive.
Yeah, all right. Hmm. So how about across the fashion brands you work with, what's the single
Mhm.
most common bottleneck they're stuck on? Like, what's the one problem you hear again and again, brand after brand?
Cedric, do you want to answer that one?
Oh, I would say, I mean, it always comes down to sizing, really.
Yeah.
It always comes down to that. I was like, when we looked at different brands and we looked at, the way they interact with the product, and essentially it's mainly that, we've got some brand approaching us because, they used to use a legacy system, which is, when I say legacy, I would say it's just a regular size chart. And then they approach us, they're like, oh yeah, we're thinking of using your product because, we want to make, we want to actually help with increasing your conversion or just help with our conversion. And then through that, we'll be like, okay, well, what do we have in place and how does it work? And it's kind of guiding them through like the best way to implement our system and make sure that, it's actually helping them the right way, like Nick said previously, because we now do offer, size as one solution, but also it's not just the size, it's a customer journey. That's the way we kind of have to tell them. It's like, well, right now you've got maybe 2 to 4 apps doing different things. One is doing sizing, one is doing like, stock notification, one doing this. But all of those apps are separate and they don't really communicate together. You're making it work because you're the business owner, so you have to go and pull data left and right to actually try to understand and then and try to say sort it together with our solution. Now it's like what Nick was telling me before, we're thinking of the whole customer journey across. We're like, okay, well, we know the client comes to your website, they click into sizing. This is where it is right now. You already spend money to acquire this customer. You actually want to make that money back. You want to close the deal. So what we're offering you right now is once they're into that funnel, they do not leave the funnel until they actually proceed to cart. So removing as many friction as we could. And friction can be, well, I looked at the size 32 of this pen, but unfortunately, there's no more stock for it. Well, within the app, you can actually have a notification, which, we can actually get your details, save it. And once the product is restocked, directly you get a message and then you can purchase it. So, like the integration, it's so holistic and it's like it's so thought into like one single product, then it makes such a big difference. And for brand, I think that's what they start to value.
Yeah. Okay.
We do long answers. Sorry about that.
That's all right. This is whether you're going to jump in with some too. Yeah.
Yeah. In depth.
So beyond sizing and returns, where else do you see fashion brands leaking money or asking for help?
From what we're hearing, probably production. It seems like a lot of production is moving overseas. I think Australia is a good example. Like talking with a few brands, there's a few brands that were still manufacturing in Australia, and even these brands decided to manufacture overseas because again, small margins. So multiples on small margins. I feel like that's one of the things. Competitivity, because seasons have changed. It used to be maybe four release a year based on seasons, let's say. And now, like, because of fast fashion, I guess, there's way more. So it becomes also competitive if you're not, throwing new products out there. And I guess people are very used to see new things. Even though hopefully we're returning towards a more old school model with, upcycling and people buying secondhand garments and people buying maybe also more like qualitative products rather than quantity. But yeah, that for me was one of the things we heard from brands.
I'll add one more. It's stock management.
Yeah.
That's a big one as well because, like Nick said, the fact that your production is overseas, so it's quite of a challenge to actually predict what's the right amount of stock I need to order in regard for me to actually make sure I don't run out, but also I can it's a hard one.
Yeah, that was one of the big ones. Visiting some companies at their HQ, and some of them have the HQ and then the warehouse at the back, and you'd see boxes and boxes and boxes, and it's very hard to predict as well. I mean, there are tools. We're working on a tool as well to sort of predict stock. So whenever we hear a problematic, we're like, okay, how can we try and resolve it from the insights that we get? But yeah, certainly, like Cedric said, stock is a big one because that's also the problem of selling online. I mean, the benefit of it is you're selling online, so you actually don't need a physical store, or you might reduce the number of physical stores, but you've got a piece going out, and that piece is going out until, you know, and I think like refund policies turn around as about a month these days. Some have even more than a month, right? So that means the piece of garment's going. Yes, you've made the sale, but potentially it could come back your way within that month, right? So managing that part of stock is also quite complicated. I guess the other part with that, and that's more again related a bit to sizing, but it's also probably like textile or feel or all these sort of things, is the fact that your garment's gone and then it comes back, you know, a month later. But what are the what I'm trying to say is, what are the different problematics around it? Is it, you know, that it didn't fit? All right, we're trying to solve that. Is it that it didn't reflect very well, like the fact that maybe the materials on a picture look different? So there's multiple reasons. We're trying to fix as many as we can under an umbrella, listening to brands again. But yeah, that seems to be sort of a different things we heard out there that are affecting let's say they're creating a bottleneck for the industry.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So for every fashion brand you talk to, if they fixed one thing tomorrow, what would be the biggest difference for most brands?
If
If they
a
fix,
second.
So basically, you know, the one change with the biggest impact across all the brands.
I believe if you were to change one thing in the fashion industry in regards to selling online, like e-commerce, are we back on that topic? Yeah. Um, well, probably in the top three, like sizing would be one of them. And okay, we're biased because that's what we're resolving. But yeah, definitely, I think it's a big one. It seems to be a big one, right? So if you can resolve if you can resolve the main, I think sizing represents 30 to 40% of the reasons why people return a garment. Then the other one is a change of mind. Then the other one is like maybe they don't like, you know, what they've bought online look different than what they received. So they're deceived, let's say. Um, so I think that's the biggest one. And it's also the one that's realistically achievable. Because how hard is it to try and, I mean, unless you send a sample of the material, but I'm sure it happened to you. You see a jacket online. First of all, the model looks perfect. And then, you know, the jacket looks really nice. And you're like, oh, I think it'd be a perfect winter jacket or whatever. And then you receive it and you're like, oh, that is definitely not what I've pictured it to be. You feel it, you put it on, and it doesn't feel the same that you thought it would feel. Um, that's way harder to fix, right? That's, I mean, and that's cool in a way because there's still a problematic there. We're not looking to fix that one. We just think that, you know, the great part of it is it's still nice to go. I like on the weekend going out and, you know, on a main strip where there's like stores and going into physical stores, having a chat, touching the materials, and you know, we're resolving an online issue, but it doesn't mean that we're not for people still going in stores and trying their sizes, right?
Yeah, fair
No,
enough.
yeah, correct. And I think it's like there's a place for everything. And just to jump back on what they just said, it's like sizing because we've got data and then the numbers is showing us, then you know that's being the bottleneck. And the way it is right now is one of the biggest brand. We've seen then, you know, through our solution and through what we've implemented for them, we were able to actually uplift the conversion by 10%. And in that conversion 10%, we were able to actually like increase the checkout by 3 to 5%. So clearly, you know, we can say that sizing was the biggest issue, and we are managing to actually help them to make more money and then solving that bottleneck.
Yeah.
And these numbers, it's interesting because in the fashion world, when you speak about these numbers to a normal person, I've run a few different businesses before that. 10% is like, oh, okay, it's not bad, but it doesn't seem like a huge uplift. For the fashion world, it's a massive one. To give you an example, for that specific client, which is quite big, that's an uplift of like $1 million per month. So, if you're counting on that, that's plus, the actual buy is 4% of that. It's big numbers basically. So we're talking like big difference. That means you can employ a bunch of extra staff. You can make more profit. Once you have money, there's a lot of avenues in which you can spend it. So as Cedric was saying, that's for us, it's very rewarding when we're checking that data as well, to see the actual effect. Because on our dashboard, we can convert, like we can see the monetary aspect of it, because we can actually see what people have sort of like selected the most and what that garment cost is and how many people put it at checkout and things like that. So it's quite exciting.
So, Goodsize and Goodchart, where can people find it? Give it a try, and what integrations can you do?
Yeah. So we're available on Shopify. We're mainly focused on the Shopify ecosystem. You can find us under Goodsize, and you can find us under Goodchart. Or if you go on Shopify, there's a little search bar, and you've put like size chart, size guide, AI size recommendation. You'll find us. Where Goodchart is actually completely free at the moment. The reason is we're trying to achieve, and that's going to change in a few months. Our core app is going to be always free, but depending on the quantity of usage of our different offerings, then there'll be paying tiers. But yeah, we're trying to achieve to get more than 1,000 clients, which is going to happen anytime in the next few months. Stable clients, and then from there on, we'll switch into a still free tier and then paying tiers. So that's a good news for anybody jumping on board. Go for it, give it a try. We think you'll love it. There's a lot of things to learn around. And once you install it, if you've got any questions, if you need any assistance, we're here to help you, basically.
Cool. Well, thanks very much, guys, for coming on Beyond the Checkout today. Hopefully, this is going to be a good insight for a lot of our e-commerce customers and viewers. So, thanks very much for coming along.
No
Thanks for
worries.
having
Well,
us.
thank you, Michael. Yeah, thanks for having us. Nice chatting to you. And we'll see you around.